This is the PROBOX2 AVA edition. I'm James Bruce and you're watching MakeUseOf.com reviews. The PROBOX2 AVA is the latest in a long line of Android TV boxes that we've previously reviewed favourably. It's available now for $130 by itself or $155 when bought in a package with the Remote Plus, which I would strongly recommend getting. Now the Remote Plus is actually the same one that's always been included in the bundles with the PROBOX2, so it hasn't changed at all, and very briefly let's talk about it. Although there is a standard infrared remote controller included in the package, it's well worth buying this extra Remote Plus. As well as being, of course, a standard sort of D-pad for navigating the menus, you can also press a mode button here, which will turn it into a gesture-based pointer, a mouse pointer. In addition to that, pressing the mode button twice turns it into a game controller, so you can hold it on the side. And essentially what this does is it switches up the direction of the D-pad, so up is now where right would be, and then you've got 4 buttons just like a SNES controller, so it's perfect for a little bit of retro gaming. And what's really great about this is that it also connects through a little wireless dongle. So of course, if you don't want to use it with the PROBOX2, it'll work in a pinch for your presentation or whatever. Just plug the little dongle into your laptop or Raspberry Pi, and you've got a gesture-based mouse pointer right there, as well as a directional pad. But it's really this that we're here to look at today, the PROBOX2 AVA. Inside you'll find a Realtek 1295 system on a chip with quad-core ARM A53 CPU and a Mali T820 GPU with 2 GB of RAM and 16 GB of onboard storage. There's no great leap in performance from the previous model, and they're not particularly impressive, on paper at least. However, it's really the extra features in the AVA model which make it worthwhile compared to the previous devices, so let's look in a little more detail at those. So first up is the inclusion of a HDMI in port, as well as obviously the out port for the display. And this gives you recording capabilities as well as picture-in-picture. So you can plug in any HDMI source as long as it's not HDCP copy protected, and then just record it in full HD. Unfortunately, I found my MacBook did in fact have HDCP enabled, so I couldn't record that. But I did manage to get a capture from my video camera, which provides HDMI out. You should see some sample footage of that now. This can record up to full HD, not 4K, but still that should be good enough for most people, and it's a pretty cool feature just to have in. Now you didn't hear it from me, but if you did want to record something which had HDCP enabled on it, you could just buy a cheap imported HDMI splitter from China, which would, as well as splitting the HDMI signal, just completely disregard any copy protection on it, thereby enabling you to record anything. Of course, I would never do something like that. So if you are doing any HDMI recording, it's quite likely you're going to want some extra space to store it on, which is where this particular feature comes in really useful. If you pull off the back panel, there's space to slot in a 2.5-inch or laptop-sized hard disk. It's a standard SATA interface, so any old hard disk or SSD should work. And then no screws needed. You just push that back panel back on, and you have terabytes of extra storage to either store your recorded movies or anything you've downloaded. It's certainly nice being able to add a local hard disk. The third major feature that the AVA model adds is that it runs OpenWRT in addition to Android 6.0. Now OpenWRT, for those of you that don't know, is a sort of embedded Linux system generally used on networking devices, such as routers. And what this does is it enables you to have networked file sharing, always-on torrent downloading, time machine backups, iTunes server, DLNA server, that sort of thing. And that's all configurable through the web interface. By default, I found that just putting in a hard disk made it accessible over the network, and I could browse to the network share and throw some files on there. It was super easy. The only thing I would say is that if you wanted to configure some extra features for OpenWRT, delve into the setup a bit, then there is no app for configuring it. It's all done through a very arcane and kind of complex web interface. It's not really beginner friendly at all, but only advanced users are likely to want that anyway, and there's lots of online documentation for OpenWRT available. As for the Android side of things, the box runs a custom Apex UI launcher, which is perfect as a 15-foot interface for using with a TV. However, there is also a button in the bottom right of the screen which allows you to quick swap between different launchers. So if it isn't to your taste, you can easily add one of your own and run them side by side without having to delve into the settings. The option is there, which is nice. Navigating through the menus is quick enough, and you can install anything you want from Google Play. In my testing, I didn't come across any weird Google Play services as stop responding sort of errors that you often find with some of these import Chinese boxes. Everything just worked. I installed it and could run any apps I want. You can add your favorites to the main menus. It's all really nice. In terms of performance, Antutu scored it around 38,000, which is a little bit disappointing. It's on the end of a low-end Android phone, so you won't be playing any 3D games with it. However, it did handle some emulation stuff just fine, and the box is really designed for media playback, so that's what it's optimized for. It supports displays up to 4K with HDR content as well. Unfortunately, I don't have a 4K TV, so I can't test that bit, but I did manage to play some 4K content, albeit downgraded to the resolution of my TV. I tested both local and remote playback. Streaming through the web through BBC iPlayer was absolutely fine. I also tried through Plex, and while standard HD content played fine, I did find some stuttering when trying to play some 4K content. However, both my Plex server and the PROBOX2 AVA were on Wi-Fi, so that would explain the slowdown. Ideally, you want this plugged in through the Ethernet port. That just wasn't convenient when I was testing it. The sort of content you'll be able to stream over your local network is really determined by your local network rather than by the box itself. It'll handle what you can feed it over the network. When I copied that same 4K file onto the local drive here, it played that back fine. So, should you buy the PROBOX 2? Well, if you're in need of an Android 6.0 TV box that handles 4K content, has a nice interface and a really cool remote to go with it, then yes, I can definitely recommend the PROBOX2 AVA. The ability to add a local hard disk up to terabytes for you to store movies and retro games on is really cool. I probably won't use the HDMI recording feature so much, but given that normally recording HDMI would cost sort of $100 or more just for a device that plugs into your computer, I think that's a pretty cool feature just to include in it anyway, which might come in useful in the future. Having OpenWRT running on it is also cool as well, though again, probably not something I'm going to make a huge use of myself. If you don't need any of those features at all, if you don't want the HDMI recording abilities, if you don't want the OpenWRT features, if you don't want the ability to add another hard disk, then it might be worth looking at the PROBOX 2 Air instead, which is about $20 to $30 cheaper. Although, given that it's only $20 to $30 cheaper, it's probably worth picking up this one anyway, just in case you do find you want those features at a later date. And if you do decide to pick it up, I absolutely do recommend getting the Remote Plus bundle, because this is definitely worth having around just on its own. So I'd like to thank the PROBOX team for giving us one of these to review and another one to give away. The competition is run in conjunction with our website, so you'll need to click on the little link below and then you'll find the competition widget on that page and you can enter there. The competition runs for about 2 weeks since this video is published. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so you never miss out on any of our twice weekly giveaways, gadget reviews, tech tips, and DIY technology tutorials from all of us at MakeUseOf.com. Oh, and consider subscribing to the newsletter too, where we give away a couple of ebooks every month to really help you get the most from your computing experience. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I've been James Bruce looking at the PROBOX2 AVA.